Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Meticulous Moments show. It is such an honor to have you here with us. And this evening, we have one of Ma'am and Meticulous Moments guests and an honorary member. And he's also a very, very close brother of mine. And that is, of course, the amazing Bill Clark. I've had him on the show a couple of times. And there's a reason for that. The content that he shares is absolutely phenomenal. And we have just walked such a wonderful journey. Welcome, Bill. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. And thank you so much for having me, sister. Thank you so much. Always an honor to be with you and to share some special messages to help some people out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bill. Now, there's so many things that you do. I mean, you are a Christian, you're a world champion. I see all the posts that you put out there, all the wonderful things that you're doing. You're a martial artist. And for those of the audience members who have recently joined and, started following the podcast, tell them a little bit more about you.
I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, first of all, you got the order right. That's for sure. Christian first. Jesus is the king. And anybody
Amen.
out there watching, I'm going to tell you, Jesus loves you. So,
Amen.
I mean, that's first and foremost to me. Everything else is a gift. I mean, that's
That's
a
right.
gift too. But everything that's, I mean, the world championships and stuff like that, all well and good. Guinness World Records, all well and good. But, and I love the martial arts, of course, and I've been doing that my whole life. And I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about stuff like that. I mean, I guess if you ask questions, I could answer them. But when it comes to, because all that stuff is really pretty insignificant, really. I mean, you're on the cover of a magazine one day and you're gone the next, and somebody else comes on. Even if you were on there all the time, it doesn't matter. It's
That's
kind of
right.
an illusion. Really,
That's
this
right.
stuff doesn't matter. Somebody else, a sponsor called, potential sponsor called me up and said, "Well,
Yeah.
you're an influencer," and I thought, "I'm not an influencer. I'm just a guy that I spread good messages, but I'm not an influencer. I'm not a celebrity. I don't resent them, but I don't like those terms. We're all in this thing together, so I don't.
That's true.
Yeah, it just doesn't. So I appreciate the kind introduction, but I don't really, like I say, it's here today, gone tomorrow, and it's how you
That's
treat
true.
people. Those are the things that
That's
matter
true.
the most.
That's true. And what I always find so refreshing about when we have our conversations is that you have accomplished a lot in the world, and you always give God the glory and the honor. You always place focus on where your gifting comes from, where our power really lies, who our source is, and that is refreshing because God has gifted you in many ways. You're using those talents and those gifts, and you use them as vehicles to give God glory. And I think that is amazing because that is wisdom right there. And what you said is true. All these other things are fleeting. I think the
Yeah.
important thing is that we realize what we were placed here on earth for, that we, follow that path that God lays out for us. And you mentioned something very important, and that's something I also practice in my life, is that we need to be kind and we need to bring upliftment in the world. That is so important. That smile that we have for a person, maybe they're having a bad day, that changes the whole trajectory of their life for that day, and that day changes their future. So how important is it for you, because I know you love to work with children, you love to go to these events that you are a part of, and you like to spread the good news, the gospel, and positivity. How important is it for us to weave that into our daily routine?
Oh, it's a 10 out of 10. It's I mean it's critical because I mean I'll start off with this. There's three groups of people, right? There's the first group that they're totally selfish. They're going to do whatever's going to serve them, and
Yep.
those are the people that you probably want to try to stay away from. Then there's a second group of the people that will do the right thing, but they're not doing it for the right reasons. They're
Right.
doing it to benefit them. And then there's the third group, and probably like a lot of us, we can, we're aspiring to get to the third group, and we probably do. And then we sometimes we do other things. It's the right thing to do because it benefits us, but the third group just does it because it's the right thing to do. It's just a good thing to do.
Hmm.
And so, you know, so what I was leading to is the second group, right? When they're doing the right thing for the wrong reasons, it's they're still helping and they're still benefiting,
Yeah.
and they're helping other people too. Because when you walk down the street and you say hello to people, you nod, you give people a smile, not only does that hopefully change the chemistry of the person's blood that you just said hello to, but it also changes yours.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the bottom line, right? It's this is supposed to be a win-win situation.
Hmm.
So you don't want to get to the top by taking advantage of other people. You want to get to the top by helping and doing the right things. And yeah, it's a competitive world, and that's the way it goes. I mean, it's supposed to be, right? Sports are supposed to be competitive, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're doing it honorably. And as I always say, you can always tell, the difference between a winner and a loser. A winner can come in second place and they recognize what they need to fix, they recognize what they need to change, and then they go out and they do it honorably. Where a loser will finish in second place, and their idea to get ahead is to suck the other person down.
That's
So they're
right.
just trying to pull other people down below where they are. Where a true champion raises their game to get
Hmm.
to the top, and then that inspires other people. So when people ask me, do I mind if somebody breaks my world records? Not at all. I mean, that's the idea, right? If I'm if I'm if I'm so blessed to be able to break someone else's world record, then I need to be pretty happy when somebody breaks mine, because even though they may have broken the record, I inspired them to do it. And
That's
that's a
right.
good thing, right? I mean, that's a good thing to be doing. So when you're doing good things, again, for the right reasons, you're doing great things for the right reasons, and great things happen too. So it's not wrong to want good things to happen to us too. I mean, that's a good thing. But we just
Yeah.
want to make sure we're bringing other people with us, and
That's
I
right.
think that's one of the hallmarks of a real champion, not a champion that just has lots of medals and stuff like that, but somebody who can,
That's right.
you know, lead by example. And we're all sinners, and we all have our goofy moments. But the
Hmm.
heart is good, and we want other people to do well, and that's a good thing. And I think that starts by kind of giving back, right? Giving
Yeah.
back, and so, because the truth is, any of the gifts I have aren't mine anyway. They're not mine, and
Amen
I, and
to
I can
that.
give. I'm sorry.
Amen to that.
Yeah, I could give so many examples. Like, with weightlifting, it found me. I didn't find it. It actually found me. And the Guinness World Records, it found me. All those
Hmm.
things. I didn't go out looking for them. I just kept bumping into them. And
Yeah.
and again, there's lots of evidence. There's so much. See, you and I already know that
Yeah.
God is active in our lives, because we talk and he talks back in his own way, and things happen. Other people, maybe they're blind to this, but I could tell you, when something happens, in your life that is monumental,
Hmm.
and you didn't plan for it. Okay, so people, well, it's a circumstance. Okay, it's just it's luck or whatever. Okay, but the more times that happens, then you have to start to realize, okay, if there was 1 in a million odds of something happening once, but then it happens over and over and over and over and over, and I'm like a walking story of that. It just things just kept
Right.
happening. There's no way I can say I would never, and I just had a school actually cancel um,
Huh?
of me coming in, yeah, because they found out that I say, "Hey, thank you, Jesus," and so
Oh,
they no, I'm serious. So, and that's okay. You go ahead, but I'm not coming. There's no way somebody's going to introduce me as a world champion, Guinness World Record, fifth degree black belt. You're not going to introduce me as that, and then I'm going to come up and say, "Yeah," I'm going
that's
to
right.
say, "Thank you, Jesus," and I'm
Amen.
going to thank my coaches too. But God is the one that organized all that.
That's
So
right.
if people don't want to hear that, then don't bring me in, and I don't mind. It's
Hmm.
up to you. But I could tell you this: the school that just canceled, because I say that. At
Yeah.
the same time, they're not going to have any problem bringing in somebody who wants to teach, um, you know, transvestite education or whatever. They're not going to have any problem bringing
That's
that,
right.
because and I don't, look, I love everybody. I don't care. If that's what somebody wants. Listen, Jesus loves them too, and I love them too. But the point is that
Yeah.
that's okay to do. But if I say, I thank Jesus, you're going to be offended by that? Well, then I don't want to be at your place anyway. So,
That's right.
because it's hypocritical to me. So,
I agree. I agree, and I feel like they have to treat everybody the same. If they want to bring in the new
no,
curriculums which they are doing, then they have to at least allow everybody to have a fair chance to say what they believe in. I believe that as a believer, I speak about God in my podcasts, and if you want to hear it, then hear it. If you don't want to hear it, then listen. Eat the fish and spirit. What is bones for you? But we are blessed by God. We are anointed by God. We've been appointed. I heard I was at a wonderful conference in Pretoria in South Africa many years ago, probably 2015, 2016, and the preacher there was talking about how takers are breakers. They're takers and givers are makers. And he was talking about those levels, but not as, he didn't articulate it as well as you did because you put the levels there, but he was talking about the fact that there are people in our lives that just take, and they're gonna keep taking because that is their mission. They want to get ahead. They'll step on whoever they need to step on because they think they're gonna get something out of it. And then there are those who are givers, those who want to uplift and inspire, like you said, and those that really want to make the world a better place. And those are the people who create a better future with us, and those are the people who connect those dots, who help people to get to their final destination. And as you were speaking, I was talking about as you were talking, I was thinking about how as we rise, we lift. When we are going up, we need to take other people with us. And
mhm,
I really believe that's God's message to us as well, because in His Word, He's talking a lot about loving others and about living a good life and about having genuine sincerity. Now, I've through the years of traveling and working and training seen a lot of types of individuals come and go, and there are those that they pretend to be sincere, but we have the Holy Spirit in our heart, so we immediately, I mean, we know what we know. God shows us, but that doesn't mean we're not going to respond in love to them. Still, we're going to love them, but we know if there are ulterior motives. Now with martial arts, it's a competitive world, of course it is, and it takes a lot to be a champion. You can't just walk in and be a champion. You have to put those hours in. There's blood,
yeah,
there's sweat, there's tears, there's injuries, and sometimes we're the hammer and sometimes we're the nail. And we give a shout out to Mark Cox because he always says that sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail. And I spoke to Grandmaster Eric Lee this week, and he was talking about how he wants to inspire until he expires. And
that's
I
cool.
thought that
Yeah,
was awesome, yeah.
yeah. Well, so again, I mean, I can't deny who I am, and nor would I ask anybody else to deny who they believe they
Right.
are. What I do know is that I'm also a self-defense instructor at a Division I school too. Nobody gets turned away. Everybody has the right to defend themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If I see somebody getting beaten up, I'm stepping in. I'm not going to ask. See, this is the point.
Yeah.
Well, let me you get away from even that stuff for a second. I was driving down the road, and this lady, her car had broken down. She was from New Jersey, so she was on the side of the road. And as I'm driving by her, I see she looks very stressed.
Yeah.
So that's my job to serve. So I backed up my Jeep and I got out. Now, here's the point. I didn't ask if she were conservative or liberal,
Right.
Democrat, Republican. I didn't ask if she was Muslim or Christian. I'm going to help her. So I would just, I would appreciate it if everybody else kind of did the same thing, but not everybody will. And some people are, and there's hate on every spectrum out there. So, but it's not how I do things. And so again, if somebody doesn't want me to mention, well, then you need to get another speaker because I cannot, nor will I go up in good conscience and
Yeah.
say, yeah, these are my things. They're not my things. They're not my things. They're gifts, and I'm so honored to have them. So I have to point to God and say, hey, I'm not preaching to everybody. I mean, hey, you do you, sugar boo. But if if you're going to introduce me as this, which is probably why you brought me in to speak, then I need to say thank you to Jesus Christ, to God, to Don Reinhardt, to Larry Bucchione, to the Leo Totten, to the coaches I've had, the info, my mom, my dad. I mean, so it takes me 30 seconds,
That's
but
right.
nobody objects to anything. And you know what? By the way, that's a very rare circumstance. Nobody has ever objected to that ever. But it
Uh-huh.
is an election year, and I think some people are a little bit uptight and a little angry or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's okay. But you know what? And I'm not going to get into all that stuff because it doesn't really matter anyway. But my point is, I'm the same person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same person, whether the person I want to win an election wins or the person I want to win loses. I'm still the
Yeah.
same person, and that's not changing. I'm still going to go out and do the best I can to help other people, and it's an honor to do so. And it,
That's
again,
right.
it's a win-win. I help other people, and then I feel pretty good too. So
I agree. I agree. I have to be true to ourselves. I think that's really very important in everything. I'm thinking about how martial arts teaches us morals and values that we take into business and we take it into our families. I used principles of martial arts to raise my children. They're all grown now, but those years were so precious that I had time to instill those morals and values in them. But if I think about business, for those who are in the martial arts or in business, we learn management, right? We go and we study and we get the experience, we work. And in essence, there was a very good course that I did while I was still working in the executive world those years. And they taught us how to manage ourselves, and then they taught us how to manage others, the corporation, and then stakeholders. But where did it start? It started with us. It started managing yourself. What is your routine like? What is your belief system? How do you treat people? Are you treating yourself with dignity first? Because if you don't treat yourself with dignity and respect, there's no way that you'll ever be capable of doing that to others. So it all starts with being true to ourselves. And it's good, because Bill, I think there's so many things, there's so many external influences and voices these days that people kind of sell themselves out. They
yeah.
will mention their values in a certain room, but then they will not mention it in another room because it might be offensive. You are not being loyal to yourself if you do that. Be yourself in the dojo. Be who you are in the church. Be who you are in the shopping center. Don't let that be different people. Be one person. Be you and be happy with that. And I think it's an important lesson for the audience today because there's so many pressures. Life has changed in the last 2 decades.
Well, that's for sure. Well, so as far as like the pressures and changing who you are, I mean, that's inevitably you have to go to sleep with yourself at night, and you have to reconcile yourself to the fact that this is who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Everything that people know about me, everything that people know, if they know me, right? And
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the people that make all the comments, all the people that make all the comments on Instagram that follow the Guinness World Records, and you know what I
Yeah.
mean is look at his ears and his nose.
Oh,
Some
whatever.
people are just filled with anger, but that's okay. I don't even, to be honest with you, I don't respond to those comments.
That's
Pardon me. I don't respond to any of those comments because it energy um, takes away energy from me, and
yeah.
it just feeds them. So I don't
That's right.
respond to negative comments. However, if I see somebody that has a legitimate comment that they're questioning, then yeah, I will answer a question and then let it go from there. But everything somebody knows about me, I've taught
Yeah.
them,
That's right.
right? Everything somebody knows about me, I've taught them. And this is why I think it's so important to represent. If you don't represent like a champion, then because everybody's a leader, this is super
Yeah.
important. Everyone is a leader. You say, no, I'm not, I don't want to be. It doesn't matter whether you want to be or not. You are a leader.
Mm-hmm.
So the question isn't whether you are or not. The question is, where are you taking people?
Mm-hmm.
Every time I do something, someone's watching, and let's hope it's good, because some little kid out there, whatever, is going to be watching Bill Clark do whatever,
That's
whether it
right.
be. whether it be martial arts or lifting weights or strongman demonstrations or whatever it may be. And so when you represent yourself, when you represent much bigger than me, right? Just God, country, family,
Yeah.
friends, and yourself, when you represent well, you take people to a good place.
Mm-hmm.
When you represent poorly, well, then you're leading people down a bad path.
Mm.
And I think a lot of that starts with anger, resentment, whatever it may be. So, what's the answer here?
Mm-hmm.
Get inside yourself and figure out what it is that needs work because you cannot overcome what you won't confront.
That's
You
right.
cannot overcome what you won't confront. So, I'll give you a perfect example. And it's going to sound kind of squirrely here, okay? Because I've jumped out of planes and I've done all kinds of things. And, as we've talked about before, I was 21-0 in tournament fighting, but those were back in the old days when it's not like it is now, right? I mean, now the fighters are so much better. But so I have like a little secret fear, and I didn't say anything to anybody, but I don't like driving, and this is why because when I was a little kid, we didn't have much, so cars were always breaking down. We'd be stuck on the side of the road, and if I had to look at it, why am I afraid to drive? Because my cars are pretty good. I mean, they're not. I mean, but I have a Jeep. It runs. It does its job. I get the oil change, right? So I had this fear. And I
Yeah.
thought, okay, Bill, because I do a lot of driving, a lot of traveling, and every time I go to get in a car, I'm dreading this thing. So I'm like, what is going on with me here? And then I
Right.
realized it goes back to being a little kid.
That's
So
right.
now I have to make a decision. Okay, I have to make a choice. Am I going to overcome this, or am I just going to let this? Because if it's my choice to make, I can say, you know what, Bill, I'm not going to drive anymore. I'm not going to travel to things, not only do things in the area, but if it gets out 3, 4 hours, 5 hours away, I'm not going to go. And I decided, you know what, Bill, you got to get a hold of this thing. So you know what I started doing is last summer I just started driving. I just started driving and then building up that confidence that okay, these things I'm not a little kid anymore, but that's how important your mind is. The
Mm-hmm.
mind, I mean, we're all conditioned, right? Every one of us has been conditioned. I don't care what your beliefs are, you've
That's right.
already been conditioned. So now you have to decide, has my previous conditioning, has it served me well? And
Mm-hmm.
if it has, then roll with it. But if it hasn't, you might want to consider changing it. And yeah, that's going to be a difficult process sometimes. But if we're truly trying to become the best version of ourselves we can be, then we have to fight. Not I'm not talking about everybody else, but you got to have the internal fights. You know,
Mm-hmm.
being a champion is a very difficult life because you're constantly fighting with yourself inside. You're constantly fighting the insecurities. You're constantly fighting the fears of everything. You get up to break a world record. What if it goes wrong? And don't think for a second, I don't have those thoughts.
Right.
So, but I'm experienced enough now, and I'm conditioned enough now to say, okay, what's the worst case scenario? Well,
Mm-hmm.
then it's God's will, and that's what I always tell people. I've done my work. Now it's
Yeah.
God's will. But I can tell you a really quick story if you'd like to hear it, which
Yes.
I think, yeah. So years ago, um, my one of the coaches I had, and I was like 16 years old. And one of the coaches I had, this was before I was, at a national, international level. I was just kind of starting out. And actually I was starting out as an Olympic weightlifter. And so one of the coaches said to me, Bill, and he didn't know my family background. He didn't know anything like that. My other one did, but he didn't. And he said, Bill, you got to get a little bit stronger mentally. You got to get a little stronger mentally and emotionally. And the reason he said that was because they used to have some kind of a formula. I don't know enough about it to like, but if you missed a lift, the question is, what would happen when you came back and made the next attempt? Because you only get three.
That's
And then they
right.
would kind of put together this history on you. So if you miss a lift, but you come back and make the next one, then okay, then they consider you to be mentally tough because you could reset, rebound, and come back.
Right.
Remember, with weightlifting, it's different because those weights don't change. I can't run a different pass route. I can't change. I can't change. I can't find three different techniques to hit somebody, an opponent. I can't do that. So the weight stays the same. So it's a pretty good gauge. And my mental toughness score wasn't, it was okay, but it wasn't great. And so what he was saying was, if you want to get to that next level, you're going to have to develop this. Pardon me. So when I got to the Olympic Training Center, we had a team psychologist, and I talked to her and I said, look, this is something I want to do. And my gosh, she was amazing. She was so far ahead of her time. She was just amazing. She said to me, it was Bill, because this is back a few years. She said, Bill, we can't see it right now, but we know it's true, but we can't see it. But one of
Mm.
these days we will. Well, now you can, right? Now you can see the brain light up. You see a negative image, you see the brain light. You see a positive, you see the brain light up different ways. They can poke your finger and measure the different chemicals in your blood. So they can do all that stuff now. So she said, Bill, the mind is super important. And
Mm-hmm.
then we started talking about, my family history. And what we realized is, as a kid, you don't have control over a lot of things. It becomes your
Mm-hmm.
default setting, right?
That's
And
right.
so my brain had been wired to become pretty pessimistic and pretty negative about things
Mm.
in some ways. In other ways, I was super positive, which was funny. But
Yeah.
we started working on that. And so then I ended up leaving Olympic lifting to go to powerlifting and then into the Guinness World Records. Well, this is the thing. And this is the power of the mind, because if I can do it, anybody can do it. And this is why I say this, because I didn't start out in a normal curve. I started out below the curve. But in 73 attempts, and again, I take credit for nothing. Thank Jesus, thank my coaches, thank my mom, thank my everybody, my friends for supporting
Mm.
me. I was a small player in this thing. But 73 attempts at world records. And thank Jesus, I've succeeded on all 73 attempts, whether it was powerlifting or Guinness World Records. And that's not the point. Thank you very kindly, but that's not the point. The point is, look at the shift.
Yeah.
That's the point. I started out down here and look where I ended up. And that was because of the kindness and love of one of the team psychologists who took her time to help train me and develop the things that she knew would help me out.
Mm-hmm.
And my gosh, did they ever? I mean, so and when you look at people attempting world records, you're about 48% of the people who attempt to make them. So to be 73 for 73, that didn't happen by accident.
Amen.
But that's the
That's right.
that's the power of the mind, right? It's the power. See, we've all heard the expression. We've all heard the expression, don't give up, don't quit.
Mm.
That's a great expression. But what people don't understand is that expression has to be built upon a platform. And
Mm-hmm.
that platform is belief.
That's
If
right.
you don't believe it, if you don't truly believe, I mean, you're 100. See, I got to interrupt myself here because now I get going. Now I'm on. so,
It's
so
good.
if you go, like, if you're 90% in, that means you're 10% quitting.
Mm.
If you're 90% in, you're 10% quitting.
Mm-hmm.
So belief is you are 100% resolved in the outcome. And if that's the case, then why are we worried? Then all we
Mm.
have to do is just execute the plan, right?
That's right.
So if you believe, I mean, now, it used to be hope. If you look back at the meaning of words, hope was synonymous with belief.
Yeah.
So if you hoped, you believed. But it's
Mm-hmm.
changed over the years. And now hope isn't like it was back when the Bible was written. Hope was synonymous with belief. Now hope means that there's some element that you're not quite sure of,
That's right.
right? I'm hoping means there's something you're not quite sure about. But when you
Mm-hmm.
believe, you are all in. There's no doubt in your mind.
That's
And
right.
so when people say you can't, don't quit, don't give up, well, you better be believing, because if
Mm-hmm.
all you do is hope and that right variable enters into the equation, it's going to get you.
That's
It's
right.
going to it's going to reveal that weakness, whatever it is, and you will end up quitting and giving up.
That's
So
right.
you have to have the talent and the belief. Then when you have those things,
Yeah.
now you're ready to never give up and never quit. So,
Absolutely.
mm,
Amen to that. I agree with you 100%. I'm thinking as you are explaining that it's so true, and we have to tell people about this. There are many individuals out there that do not realize that subconsciously there are things that they've been conditioned into that
yep,
are hindering them from getting to that next step and climbing that next summit. And and it's all in the mind, and we all have it, guys. We all have it. I'm still working through things, after years and years of ministering and years of doing counseling and studying. There are still things that I'm discovering that are roadblocks sometimes in my thought patterns, that are things that can drag a person down instead of pushing a person in the right direction. So it's so true. We have to reprogram constantly. I have to say, I'm launching my book soon, Bill, and in my book I describe how, but there's one thing in my mind, and it's a switch, and you'll know what I mean by switch. If someone tells me that I can't do something, and it's not about my parents or my mom telling me that I can't do something and then I want to do it. It's not like that. It's like if someone doubts that I can do something and they say, well, you will never do this and this and this, or you will never excel past this and this. It's like a switch in my mind. It's like fuel on the fire. It's like they help me to succeed, because the moment they say that to me, there's something in, and that's the power of the mind. There's something in my mind that switches, and I'm switched on, and I know what to do, and I get it done. And that's God's grace. I have to say, that is God's grace.
Sure.
But we all have these little triggers, right? We all have triggers, things that trigger us to excel and exceed. And then we have other things that trigger us to maybe have bad thought patterns and not feel inspired and excited about upcoming things that we want to do, and make us not believe. It's all about training our minds. Now, martial arts, please tell the audience, because martial arts helped me to train my mind in such a way that I can be calm under pressure, for instance. It helped me when I was younger, because of things that I went through. I had a temper, and martial arts helped me. I'm the calmest person, Bill. When I was a pastor and I went to the dojo and I said, well, I'm here to fight, everybody thought, what's going on? She's always so nice, why would she want to fight? But I'm always calm, and
Mhm.
except if I'm on the mat or in the ring. Or so we have different variables about ourselves. That martial arts helps us to excel. It helps us to build our character. It helps us to become better people. What has the input from martial arts been for you in your personal development?
Oh my gosh. I can't even begin to put a value level on it. Geez. Well, first of all, it's kept me safe a number of times. I've never been, going out in the street and getting into fights. That's not what I do. But as we've talked about before, as a police officer for a little while, I mean, that was my job. And
Right.
my gosh, I mean, you're taking in hardened people, and some of them are just flat out like, you just flat out evil, and you have to go protect other people
Yeah,
from them. So you better be
that's
able to
right.
fight.
Yeah.
See now and this is great. They have tasers, pepper spray. Back when I did that, you better know how to fight. And and again, the grappling stuff for me, and I love kicking and punching too. But for
Yeah.
me, the grappling stuff was once I got in, the strength thing was always very good. And anyway, but that gave me a different level of and again, and I'm going to interrupt myself one more time, but please remind me to come back to the martial arts, okay?
I will.
Because self-esteem and confidence are two different things. See, self-esteem, I believe self-esteem, because you're a human being and God loves you, and I'm telling everybody out there listening, Jesus loves you. So when you have, everybody's got self-esteem, and everybody should have self-esteem, right?
Yeah.
I don't care what walk of life you're from, what your political, none of that stuff matters. You should have self-esteem. Okay.
That's
And
right.
that means that you are valuable because you are a human being and you're part of this
Amen.
world. Politics, none of that stuff matters. Just bring it together and, let's treat each other well. But
Yes. Mm.
confidence is different. See, confidence is not a gift. Confidence must be earned. And the only way you can get that is by getting into the situations that are going to challenge you.
That's
So
right.
I remember, my gosh, back in the old days, I keep going back to the old days, Mike. I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but we would be down in New York City. We'd be training. We would meet at a university that's only about 45 minutes away from here, and they were just brutal. I mean, the stuff they did then, you couldn't do now. You couldn't
Right.
do it. I mean, you just couldn't do it. But they'd have three guys come at you, and I mean,
Yeah.
and your job was to walk around the track at night,
Yeah.
like the track at the university, and then people would just jump out at you with mitts, and you fought.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Good old
I'll tell
days.
you. So those are the days, and I mean, it was all of the black belts, so it wasn't like, now, and as we all know, not every black belt can fight,
Oh,
but
yes. That I know.
but but at least if you're a black belt, you have some knowledge at least of
That's
the
right.
situations, right? So I mean, gosh, I would just, I mean, there's just, I can't believe we still survived all that stuff. But once you go through things like that, then you're like, okay, what's the rest of life going to do to me?
Mm,
What is life going to do? Where can I go where I haven't already been through? My
right.
nose gets broken and twisted. I'd have surgery. My nose had been broken so badly that I
Oh,
had, well, that's okay. That's the point.
makes
That's,
you
you know,
stronger.
my ears, I've had surgery on this ear here. Well, not surgery, it had to be stitched. It was like I've had my ears drained so many times.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, which, gosh, and the reason I don't mind when they get cauliflower, that's kind of part of that's
It's part of the sport. Yeah.
it is. And you know what? Amongst other guys with cauliflower ears, it's a good conversation piece. So it's
I
all
can
good. I
imagine.
don't mind it. But you want to be able to hear. So when the blood fills up on the inside, right?
Right.
That's when you have to do something about it. And there were so many times I'd be turning my head and you just feel it sloshing around the blood. And so they'd go in and they'd drain it. And, I remember one time we pulled out, oh my gosh, the doctor was so thrilled. He was I want to say they were 5 cc vials and he filled up three and a half of those. So about 17 cc's of blood that he pulled out from my ear.
Oh,
And he was just like, so he was taking pictures to put on Facebook and everything. And just having a ball. But going back to confidence,
that's
that
right.
has to be earned. So,
Yes.
and that means you have to be tested. That doesn't mean you have to, no, but please, anybody watching here, okay, there's a reason why martial arts has shifted, right,
Mm-hmm.
from where it used to be 40 years ago when people were like, because we used to laugh, we would watch those like Pink Panther movies.
Yeah.
And remember the Pink
Yes.
Panthers, and Kato would jump out on Inspector Clouseau and jump him. He'd be like, "It's Kato," and then he'd attack him. Well, that's how we used to
That
do it.
was a good show.
But that's how we used to do things like that. If
Yeah.
you want to be able to defend yourself, well, then you better be able to
Yeah.
defend yourself. It wasn't staged. It was like you have to go fight. And
That's
yeah, there were codes and rules. We're not going to break anybody's leg. We're not going to gouge anybody's eyes out. We're not going to bite any people's. But you're going to get hit, and you're going to hit back, and you're going to have to move,
right.
and
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to be in grass and on a track, and sometimes it was
Right.
in the snow, and you had to be in. Sometimes we would say because when we did things like that, you were in pants and like stuff that you would wear every day. No
Mm-hmm.
gi because you might not be. Okay, hang on, I got to change. So you got to be able to fight in different gear.
That's
And
right.
what I found out is when I wore I saw it. This is funny. I actually started wearing, and I still do to this day, extra long shirts
Uh
because
huh.
when I pull them out, I can use my shirts to choke people. So it
That's
serves like a gi,
right.
right? So
That's
I have
right.
all kinds of little tricks like that are a little disturbing, but again, I'm the most loving, kind guy in the world. So I don't, I never get in trouble. But
That's
going
good.
back to that confidence level, and you know why I don't do this because I know what God wants from me.
Mm-hmm.
My job is not to go harass people; it's to lift them up.
Amen.
But martial arts gave me another level of confidence
That's right.
because I had been tested so many times in so many different situations.
Yeah.
I knew when I was a policeman, I had no problems. Other guys, yeah, that's okay. They weren't trained like that. So
Mm-hmm.
they'd be okay. Well, how are we going to do this? And it's like, let me go in there. I mean, not that I'm anything special, but I was very comfortable
Yeah.
in those situations. because I had been tested so often.
Mhm.
Um, and so, it's funny, the martial art thing, which I still practice every day. I still train every single day in the martial arts. That's one of my absolute true loves of being alive.
Oh, amen.
And not only did it help me when I walk down the street, but you know what? It's helped me become a much more loving and kind guy because I
Mhm.
can be. With my lifting, I figure, okay, so I get cut with a license plate, or I break my finger in a deadlift, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So what? I mean, you know, I remember one time I broke my pinky finger just grappling. And so the instructor came over. He was pretty good at this, right? So he came over and he took it and put his arm over mine and snapped my finger back in place. And then he laughed and he said, "So you ready to go?" And I said, "Of course." He goes, "Let me just at least tape it up." So he taped it up. And then he looked at me and he laughed. He said, "You got 9 more." And so, but that's right. You have 9 more, meaning this is just another day at the office.
That's
And
right.
so,
Comes with the
you know,
territory. Mhm.
yeah, comes with the territory. And then I think, it's just the way it goes. But I do kind of like that stuff too. There is a little bit of an element of me. I'd probably like I would think anybody that's been at an elite level at anything, you're going to have to be a little bit weird. Um,
That's
you know,
right.
well, I always tell people there's crazy, right? And by the way, if you're around crazy long enough, it'll seem normal.
That's
Right? It,
right.
it's going to seem normal. So
That's
you get
true.
around other people like you, and then you realize this is just the way we do things.
That's
Um,
right.
but there's and I admit it. I mean, I'm probably a little crazy, but I think I'm crazy in the right direction
Yes.
because there's crazy in the wrong direction too. And I'm and
That's
I'm
right.
I'm, I'm you know, but confidence going back to the martial arts again it's helped me with my lifting.
Mm-hmm.
It's helped me with everything. Helped me with the little driving problem I had. Because I thought, okay, Bill, so what happens? If the car breaks down, you'll solve it. God will be with you. Everything's going to be good. So then, just
Yeah.
drive and enjoy it. And you know what? I just did part of the state athletic conference thing yesterday, part one of it. And it's like 3 hour trip for me. And
Yeah.
but I actually enjoyed it. See,
That's
and all summer long overcoming the difficulties because it's funny, a lot of people would be like, why is he guys got a problem driving? Because of my prior conditioning. And
that.
and that's why I say we're all in this thing together. My problem might be driving. Somebody else's
Mhm.
problem might be, you know, I don't know, flying, whatever. Um, but everybody's got something. And I'm
Amen
going
to
to tell
that.
you right now, you can overcome it. No matter what. Look at my finger. I'm pointing right at you, my brothers and sisters. Whatever it is, you can overcome it.
That's true.
But you won't overcome it if you don't
And
confront it.
face it. Yeah.
So, so
You have
say
to
your
face
prayers
it.
and go get to work.
That's right. And the wonderful thing, like you mentioned, is you don't have to face those fears alone. You have God by your side. You have people that will support you. I cannot agree with you more about the crazy because I think every martial artist out there has to have a good dose of that good kind of crazy. That's
Yeah.
what makes us good at what we do.
Yeah.
And yes, there's a good crazy and there's a bad crazy. We're in the good crazy direction. As
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
learn to love the environment, and I think that also prepares us for the day that something might happen. We are ready, and that's the whole
Mhm.
point, is to be able to protect ourselves. Certain things help us along our way, and I think having that little bit of good crazy in us is only beneficial. So own it, be happy and grateful that the martial arts have found you. I said to someone earlier this year, I was visiting her, and she started martial arts late in her life, very, very late in her life, but she did so well.
Mm.
And I said, the martial arts found you. So embrace it, have joy in that knowing, because
Um,
we're all here to help and we all learn. It's a lifelong journey. It's a continuous professional personal development. We learn new things every day, and I see we have a wonderful supporter here, Bill. He's one of your followers, and he has made so many amazing comments. He says, this has made my week watching the both of you. It's Barry, so shout out to Barry. And for the other people, Who is Barry? Will you tell us?
Okay, let me tell you about Barry Shelley. Is it Barry Shelley? It's got to be Barry Shelley. Let me tell you about Barry Shelley. Barry is like Barry. Listen, you're watch out there. You're one of my heroes, Barry. Let me tell you what Barry does. He created a Hall of Fame for hockey players, for coaches. This guy is an amazing human being. So you know what he does? He inducts people. He's never asked for anything. He just gives and gives and gives
He's a
and
maker.
gives. Well, okay, I'm gonna okay, I'm gonna Barry. I know you're watching right now. I can't really read these things, so I don't know what it is, but thanks for saying this, Juanita, because I didn't realize that Barry was commenting. I kind of see it now, but I'm squinting my little eyes. You know, I am going to do something. I don't know what it is, but Barry gives and gives and gives. And I'm going to get together with a couple other people and I'm going to do something for Barry because
I
Barry
see.
deserves to be recognized too. And
You
you know
know,
what? He brings everybody in for these Hall of Fame things. He does this barbecue. He's the biggest hockey fan, and I would have loved to have played hockey. You know, but again, being a
I think
child of
you
the
would have been a great hockey player.
Oh, I love hockey. I've never, we just don't, we just didn't have it in my area. And well, we did, but you had to have money to play it. And we're busy just trying to get the heat turned back on,
That's right.
so it
Yeah.
never really worked out. If I had been born in a different place, but that wasn't God's calling for me. But
Amen.
I still love hockey. And I love talking to hockey players. Boy, have I got some funny stories from the Olympic training centers. But between the wrestlers and hockey players and us, we had some pretty entertaining evenings there. but but anyway, Barry, I'm going to do something because Barry needs to be recognized. That's all he does is recognize other people.
I
And
have an idea.
so I was thinking about this actually. It's amazing. I was just thinking about this last night
Yeah.
as I was driving home from this athletic conference instructing. And boy, what an honor that was to be able to go teach people all this stuff and all these other strength coaches in the state and everything. So it's an honor for me to be there. But as I'm driving home, I'm thinking, I got to do something for Barry Shelley. So Barry, I don't know what it is, but we're going to do something good for you because you
I
and I
mean,
know and see and Barry, you know what he's going to do? He's going to go no, no, no. Well, Barry, you can't stop me, brother.
exactly.
But we're
You
going to do
can't stop
something.
it. You can't stop it. I have an idea, Bill. I wondered what you would think if we inducted him into the Mam Hall of Fame.
Oh my gosh! You know what? For doing all the things he does for the community, that you know what he really deserves. He deserves that. He's a special human being that gives and
I
gives
believe.
and gives. And he created this. He created this Hall of Fame. Well, you have to see it to believe it. It's
Yeah.
really super neat. I mean, it's so again, the guy just gives selflessly gives. So
That's awesome. He's
I
a
mean,
maker. He's a giver, so he's a maker, and therefore, I really think these things come together the way it's supposed to. And the Holy Spirit always leads our conversations, guys, because Bill and I are both believers, and we follow the scriptures. We love the scriptures, and we love Jesus, and we always say that the Spirit of God testifies with our spirit that we are children of God. And Barry, you do so much for people out there, and the MAM Hall of Fame that I'm hosting and putting together in December 6, 7, and 8 in Dallas, it's to give back. It's all about community upliftment through leadership development. And you're a leader. You've done so much for people. So Bill will connect with you. Bill and I will connect with you. And we want to honor you and give back to you because of everything that you've been doing. So we'll set that up, Bill. And Bill is also, he can't be there in person this year,
um,
but he's also a MAM Hall of Fame inductee. I mean, congratulations. That's amazing.
uh, well, thank you very kindly. I mean, again, I don't. I always say this. There's so many people that could go into Hall of Fame. I don't. I'm very honored. I don't. I'm not going to say I deserve it. I'm just very honored and very thankful.
You
And I
are.
wish so much I could be there.
I
But
know.
these athletic conference things, they run throughout these periods,
Yeah,
and it's kind of like I'm by default I'm kind of committed because I'm a coach,
that's right.
for Binghamton University. So When they say, Bill, can you do this? Can you do this? And so I just wish I could be there. I just wish I could be there.
Next year we'll make a plan. Next year, but you're gonna be there virtually, or we'll figure it out. And I know where you are going, they need you there because you're coaching, you're training, you are supporting, and that is an honorable cause. And it's always such an honor to have you on the show, my brother. You are a true champion. You are a champion for Christ. You're a champion in everything that you do. You're a family man. You're always family orientated, and you spread love and good news out there, whether it's the gospel or the words that you say to people, and that's commendable. And I want to say thank you for being part of my family and for being a part of Meticulous and Ma'am, and for all the good things that you do out there. Also to Barry, thank you for being here with us. He's been supporting with amazing comments. You should see how much he enjoyed listening to all the golden nuggets that you were sharing. And as we close this session, just tell the audience, what do you want to leave them with, Bill?
You asked me this before, and I didn't have a very good answer then either. You know what? Forget success. Okay. Forget success, because success is always at the mercy of the variables by which we measure it.
Mm-hmm.
I can teach everybody to slam dunk a basketball, right? And pay me $9.99, and I'll give you a 10-minute course, and I guarantee you can slam dunk a basketball. Now watch. Because if the measure of success is slam dunking a basketball, you can do it, because I will manipulate the variables to make that happen. All I have to do is shrink the basketball down, drop the net from 10 feet down to 3, and everybody slam dunks a basketball because they put it into a 3-foot high net.
Mm.
Forget success. Pursue excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Pursue excellence. Excellence is the best that you can be. You do that, and success will chase you. And more than anything else, Jesus loves you. So go out, be a good person, be kind, be loving to everybody. And then, of course, if you have to defend yourself, well, then fine. But that's very, very rarely happens. It's never happened to me. And so if you're going to the wrong places, well, then you might find trouble. So stay away from them. Be a humble and reluctant warrior.
Amen to that. Wise words, wise words. And Barry also commented here. He said the world needs more of Bill and you. And Bill, I agree with you 100%. We don't chase, we attract. And it's
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
put that
yeah.
love out there and that energy. Thank you for the honor to have you on the show. God
Oh,
bless you. May He keep you, and may He make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you, and always give you this wonderful peace that you have when we speak. When we converse, I always feel this sense of peace that Bill
yeah.
exudes. God bless you, brother. And thank you to
Yeah.
the audience for coming on. Have a great
Yes.
night.
Bye-bye, everybody.